Hi everyone, I'm Alison and this is the weekly English practice from English Coaching Projects. Welcome to ECP News, your news today. These are trying times for the economy, and the service sector in particular has suffered repeated setbacks as governments ensure social interactions are kept to a minimum. But can we have hope in all of this? Scientists would like to reassure the public that sooner or later this pandemic will come to an end, and that thanks to our ability to create vaccines, we are at a tremendous advantage. Many still believe the old Spanish saying, vacuna matata, which means when the vaccine arrives, happiness arrives. However, scientists have underlined the importance of continuing to wear masks and comply with social distancing norms until we get this virus truly under control. This just in. Viewers are reminded to read and listen to the article, to talk about the questions with their friends, family, and ECP coach. And you can also record your voice using WhatsApp. Thank you and good evening. Alison asks, will this pandemic ever end? We're all so glad 2020 is over, but will the vaccine bring this pandemic under control as promised? ECP coach Alison has been reading about some predictions for the next few years. It's a year since the coronavirus SARS-CoV-2 was identified by Chinese scientists as the source of a new lethal respiratory illness. In that time, more than 1.5 million people have died globally, economies worldwide have shut down multiple times, and whole societies have isolated in their homes and watched holidays pass without the closeness of family and friends. This continues to be a sad and difficult time for most. However, Yale professor and social epidemiologist Dr. Nicholas Christakis sees a glimmer of hope in all of this. What's happening to us may seem to so many people to be alien and unnatural, but plagues are not new to our species. They're just new to us, says Christakis, expert on how our behaviors influence contagion in society. The good news, as his observations of disease over millennia suggest, is quite simply that plagues and pandemics end. They always end. They ended even before we had vaccines to respond to them. And how we react to these germs, through social distancing, for example, determines the force with which they hit our society. Furthermore, while distributing these vaccines over the coming year will be one of the greatest public health challenges of our time, it will also represent one of humankind's many great achievements. If we can vaccinate a sufficient portion of the population, roughly 75% according to some estimates, we will bring the pandemic under control much earlier and with fewer deaths than if it had ended on its own. During epidemics, you get increases in religiosity. People become more abstemious, they save money, they get risk-averse. And we're seeing all of that now, just as we have for hundreds of years during epidemics, says Christakis. He also underlines the fact that economies collapsed even in ancient times when plagues happened, even when there was no government saying, close the schools and close the restaurants. However, in 2024, all of those pandemic trends will be reversed, he says. The vision he describes for 2024 and beyond is one filled with experiences that were longed for in isolation. Packed stadiums, crowded nightclubs, and flourishing arts. People will relentlessly seek out social interactions. What's more, this could include sexual licentiousness, liberal spending, and a reverse of religiosity. He predicts we will witness a second roaring 20s just as after the 1918 flu pandemic. Needless to say, there is still work to be done. The coming year will test the world's endurance in continuing to social distance, hand wash, wear masks, and avoid crowds. Our world has changed. There's a new deadly pathogen that is circulating. We're not the first people that have had to face this threat, and a lot will be asked of us, concludes Christakis. And we're just going to have to be grown up about it. Here are this week's questions. What do you expect to happen in 2021? Do you think the pandemic has brought people closer together? What do you know about the Roaring Twenties? Do you think closing bars and restaurants is a good move? And what does Christakis say about the economy? Do you agree with him?